My name is Kojo Yankson. I'm the host of the Super Morning Show on Joy. Mr. President, you've already talked about how important it is to safeguard the water bodies and the forest reserves. But over the past 9 months since you became president, the turbidity levels in the water bodies have worsened, according to the Water Resources Commission. Ghana Water Company supports this by saying that they've had to shut down several treatment plants because the water sources are too polluted for them to process. Besides that, we know that there have been increased incursions into forest reserves for galamsey. We've also heard from your transport minister that we are importing more excavators than ever before, over 200 a day. My question about this is about its effect on the economy. Recently, the finance minister has been touting the work of the Gold Board led by Sami Jemfi for being an anchor to the economy, especially when it comes to stabilizing the city. My question is, does your government know, is your government able to tell the difference between gold from galamsey and gold from regular concessions when the Gold Board is buying gold from local producers? And could it be, because so much of it comes from galamsey, could that be the reason why we are seeing some reluctance recently in the fight against galamsey, in the sense that the IGP's efforts have been stopped and he's brought back his men from the forests? Could this be because
thank you very much.
The board was introduced as part of reforms, and if the Gold Board was not introduced, I mean, those who were taking the profits from the small-scale mining sector were the foreign traders who were taking that money away. In 6 months, we have exported over $6 billion. About $4 billion of that money was going to go into the private or foreign traders. And so the first thing is, you shut the stable door so that the horse doesn't escape, which is what we've done. So if it's from illegal sources, it's from legal sources. At least it's our land that is being destroyed. So let us get the benefit of it instead of foreign traders. So that's the first thing. But if you go and read the Gold Board law, it has a requirement for tracking and tracing. And as I speak, the Gold Board is working with an organization to put on a track and trace system. And so they're going to see those who have legitimate license requirements so that they can assist them in responsible mining, so that we can buy that gold off them. Once we do tracking and tracing, it's in our interest, because then we can export under LBMA, and we'll get more profit from exporting under LBMA. So the Gold Board is not just about buying gold, it's also about financing responsible small-scale mining. And mind you, small-scale mining is not illegal in this country. It's provided for in our laws. It's just that in many cases, we've not even trained the miners about what responsible mining is. You just see anybody who gets an excavator just goes anywhere and starts digging and washing. But small-scale mining takes place in Australia. It takes place in Canada. And so as I speak, we are organizing a trip for the Small-Scale Miners Association to Australia. Australia has given us an invitation to bring them to come and see how small-scale mining is done without destroying the environment. And so that's something we're going to take an advantage of. And the Gold Board is leading, and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources are leading that charge. Only recently, our Minister for Lands and Natural Resources came back from Australia. And so we need to train these small-scale miners. The gold is a blessing that God gave us. It's a natural resource that God gave us to make life better for our people. It's just that the way and manner in which we are going about it is causing distraction to the environment. But it is the result of an increase in the gold price. And if you've read widely, you find that the same thing is happening in Peru. It's happening in several other countries because of the heightened gold price. And so for whatever little gold you're able to find, you get more money. Galamsey was not a problem when gold was $2,000 per ounce. But today, gold is pushing $3,600 per ounce. And because of the lack of jobs, jobless growth for several decades, there are a lot of young people who are coming out of school who have no job work to do. And so for them, that is the only livelihood. And so we must not think just about chasing them all over the place without providing alternatives for them. Because the alternative is that they should stay home and starve or go out and do something deviant. And that's why we came up with the cooperative mining concept, for which we recently lost our colleagues. They were going to launch it, the first of its kind in Anglo, because one of the things we said was that we're going to let the big mining companies seed off some of their concessions. Some of them have 400, 500 miles square. And there's gold in some parts of those concessions that they will never mine because the grams per ton of ore is so low. But yet, if you put a small-scale miner there, he can mine it effectively. And so we've discussed with them and they've all agreed. And so Anglo Ashanti was the first. They've cut a part of the concession. And that is what Omani and Murtala and Co. are going to launch, cooperative mining, so that we'll move the small-scale miners from the forest reserves where they are causing destruction and settle them on the concessions where the big mining companies have seeded. As I speak, Newmont has demarcated an area for these small-scale miners. And we have asked the big companies to mentor them and supervise them and make sure they do the right thing. So that was going to be an alternative for moving them out of the forest and other places so that they can mine under the supervision of those companies. And that's where our colleagues are going when the helicopter crashed. And so it's a program that we're going to continue so that we can give them an alternative, not just go chase them around without finding something else for them to do. And so that's something we're working on. With regards to excavators, we're enforcing the law that you must get the permit before the excavator is put on a ship. That is what the law has been, but it was not followed. And so they let the excavator land before they come and ask the Ministry of Transport for a permit. And so we've informed all the dealers that you cannot load an excavator onto a ship until you have gotten a permit. In the meantime, a lot of excavators have arrived at the port. And recently, somebody said they were being released at midnight to their owners and things. That's not true. What happens was there were so many that they had occupied a huge area of the port and congested the port. And so we found the land near Shai Hills, near the military installation. And the Field Engineers Regiment and others have been given charge to move the excavators from the port to that area so that they can free up space in the port. And they do that in the night because of traffic in the daytime. So in the night, they have the payloaders moving the excavators out of the port to the designated areas where they are supposed to be held. And before any of those excavators is released, they must be tracked. They must have a tracker on them. They must be registered by the owner of the excavator, and we must know the purpose for which the excavator has been imported. Because the construction industry also imports excavators, and so you cannot put a blanket ban on importation of excavators just because you think that every excavator is going to go into the illegal mining industry. Even the big mining companies that have licenses import excavators. And so we want to know who is importing the excavators, who it is going to. We want to be able to put a tracker on it and be able to trace that excavator wherever it is in the country. We called off the IGP's anti-galamsey task force because they are supposed to coordinate with NIMOS. That is the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat. Unfortunately, they were not doing that. So every little commander in any this thing gets up, galamsey phobia, they can't tell who is licensed, they can't tell who is not licensed. And so it was just like an attack on the whole small-scale mining industry. And so what we said was they should freeze their action. They should synchronize it with the National Anti-Galamsey operational secretariat so that they can be directed exactly to where to go in terms of the anti-galamsey fight. While we're fighting galamsey, it doesn't mean that it's a free-for-all for everybody to get up. Anybody gets up, puts on a helmet, puts on a jacket, and says, I'm anti-galamsey. They say, we're not looking for chaos. We're looking to do it, you know, in a scientific manner so that we do not hurt the whole of the small-scale mining industry. Yes, we're quite happy with the outcomes of the reforms that we have been implementing in the economy. And we have survived without going to the capital markets. We've survived without borrowing. Who could have thought some years ago that Ghana's economy could be run without going to the external market to borrow? And yet, we've survived. And so we shouldn't be in a hurry to go back to the capital market. All we've done is to reorder our expenditure and push funds to areas that are of priority. And so that's all we've done. Fiscal discipline, you know, not spending money on wasteful, you know, political interventions and all that. And that is already showing the successes in the market. I mean, we've gone from negative 3.4% on the primary balance to positive 1.1 as at now. And by the end of the year, we'll achieve the target. I'm sure we'll overachieve the target of positive 1.5. And so it's all about discipline in expenditure. And so for me as the president, I would not favor a quick return to the international capital market. I think we should go like this for a while and consolidate the economy before we look at external financing. Thank you.